You can be in a room full of people who like you and still feel like you're watching the whole thing from behind glass. Not because you're shy, not because you're unkind, because you already know where the conversation's going. You knew it 4 sentences ago. And now you're just waiting, smiling, nodding, waiting for everyone else to catch up. That's not arrogance. That's not a personality flaw. That's what it actually feels like to be the most intelligent person most people will ever stand next to. Hey, I'm Ace. And today we're talking about something almost nobody says out loud because saying it sounds like bragging. Being highly intelligent does not feel the way people assume it feels. People assume it feels like winning. Better grades, a better job, a better life unlocked early. Nobody tells you about the part where you start editing yourself in every single conversation just so you don't sound like a lot. Nobody tells you about the specific kind of lonely that comes from being surrounded by people and still being the only one in the room who's actually alone with what you're thinking. Here's what we assume about intelligent people: more options, more success, an easier life, because everything just clicks faster. What we don't talk about is the tax on the way in. Because when your brain runs 3 steps ahead of the conversation, you can't just switch it off to fit in. So you learn to slow yourself down, simplify yourself, perform normal on a loop until performing normal becomes its own kind of exhausting. And here's the part nobody warns you about. The smarter you are, the harder it can be to find someone who doesn't require translation. Let me tell you about Theo. In 3rd grade, Theo corrected his teacher, in front of the whole class, about a fact she'd gotten wrong. He wasn't trying to embarrass her, he just noticed. He always noticed. She didn't yell. She just looked at him a certain way, a look that said, "Why can't you just let it go?" That look taught Theo something faster than any lesson that year. Being right out loud makes people uncomfortable, so does noticing too much, so does asking the 3rd question when everyone else stopped at the 1st. By middle school, Theo had a strategy. Nod along, laugh half a beat late so it looks natural. Ask the question you already know the answer to, because the real question would make people go quiet. Nobody bullied Theo, nobody excluded him, he had friends, he had a whole group chat. But not one person in that group chat had ever heard what Theo actually thinks about anything. Because the version of Theo they know is the version he built to be easy to be around. Here's the psychology behind it. Researchers actually have a name for this specific kind of lonely. They call it existential isolation. The feeling that your internal world is not accessible to anyone else, even when you're not physically alone. It's not about IQ. It's about pattern recognition, running faster than everyone around you can follow, in real time, in every conversation, whether you want it to or not. You notice the inconsistency in the story before it's finished. You see where the plan falls apart 3 steps early. You clock the thing nobody else in the room has clocked yet. And you have 2 options: say it and watch the room shift, the way Theo's teacher shifted, or don't say it and carry it alone. Most people, most of the time, choose to carry it alone. This usually starts the same way it started for Theo, not with cruelty, with a look, a sigh. Let's not make this weird. A room that goes quiet for half a second too long. Kids are fast learners. If being noticed for your mind gets you a strange look, and staying quiet gets you an easy afternoon, you will choose easy every time. So you learn to translate yourself down into smaller words, slower thoughts, simpler jokes. Not because you're simple, because simple is safe. And the tragedy is that translation never turns off, it just gets a promotion. It stops being called the smart kid holding back, and starts being called so easygoing, so chill, so easy to talk to. Which sounds like a compliment. It is actually a description of someone who has never once been fully in the room. And here's the part that actually hurts. Because Theo is easy to talk to, everyone talks to him. About their breakups, their bosses, their spiraling 3 a.m. thoughts. Nobody asked Theo what's going on in his head because his head has never, not once, looked like it needed checking on. So Theo becomes the friend everyone calls and the one nobody calls. He is in every group chat and fully known in none of them. That is not what a full life is supposed to feel like. That is what a very well-performed version of a full life feels like from the inside. alone at 11 p.m. when the group chat has gone quiet and there's no one to call who would actually understand the answer? So if you're the one everyone comes to for advice, but nobody thinks to check on, if you've spent years translating yourself down so you'd be easier to be around, if you have a full contact list and still feel like the only fluent speaker of a language nobody else speaks, this was never about being too smart for people. It was about being fluent in a language you never taught anyone else to speak. Here's the reframe: you do not need more people, you need different math. Not more surface connections, fewer, deeper ones. People who don't need the translated version. People who can sit in the real thought with you, all the way to the end of it without that look. That means letting some people see the actual thinking, unfiltered, even if it's a little too much for them. The right ones will lean in, not away. You were never too much. You were just fluent in a language you'd been speaking alone. That's what's going on inside Ace's head today. If you've ever translated yourself down just to be easy to be around, tell me. I want to know what your version of Theo's group chat looks like. And if this explained someone you know, or maybe explained you, subscribe. Because next time we're going inside a completely different mind.